there, welcome to Solo and Smart, the YouTube channel for adults at risk of growing older alone. My name is Carol Marrock at carolmarrock.com. And I wanted to share with you a study. It was actually recently published by Brookings this week. It is a quick overview of the findings of the U.S. Census, the 2020 U.S. Census. And just know that this report really talks about the trends, the four or five trends that Brookings found by studying the U.S. Census. However, over the coming months, the U.S. Census will actually roll out the results of last year's results. And it's a once-a-decade headcount, as you know, the census is, that will give us precise details on the size, growth, age, and racial ethnic makeup of the nation's population. So one of the trends that Brookings found, or the U.S. Census, I should say, found, is that U.S. has been one of the most rapidly growing countries in the industrialized world. This was especially true in the last half of the 20th century due to the post-World War II baby boom and the rising immigration in the 80s and 90s. The Census Bureau showed that from July 1st, 2019 to July 1st, 2020, the nation grew by just 0.35%. And this is the lowest annual growth rate since at least 1900s. The next trend that was found is continued decrease in geographic mobility. So before COVID-19 swept the country, a smaller share, which was 9.3% of Americans, changed residence than in any other year since 1947. The 1940s to 1960s, 1/5 of Americans changed residence annually. By the late 1990s, about 15% was 15 to 16% estimated of the population moved each year, dropping to 13 to 14% in the early 2000s. Migration dropped even further to about 11 to 12% range after the Great Recession, which reflects the immediate impact of housing and labor market crashes. Since 2012, it has continued dropping to 9.3%. So we're not moving around that much. The other trend is pronounced aging of the population. Now, to most of us, this is probably a no-brainer, right? So 2020 census highlight the sharp growth divide between the old and the young. Between 2010 and 2020, the number of people over age 55 grew by 27%, which is 20 times larger than the growth rate of the collective population under 55, which is 1.3%. The largest driver of this divide is the baby boomer generation, naturally. So we've passed the age of 65 during the past decade, increasing the size of the 65 to 74-year-old age group by a half. So the Census Bureau estimates that by race show a small decline, 16,000 about, in the nation's white population over 2010 to 2019 period. If this trend is confirmed with the full 2020 census, the 2010 to 2020 decade would be the only decade since the first census was taken in 1790 when the white population did not grow. Another trend is the racial diversity among the millennials and Generation Z or Gen Z. The Census Bureau population estimates released uh, last year revealed that more than half of the nation's total population are now members of the millennial generation or younger. And while these younger generations born 1981 or later are not growing as rapidly as older age groups, they are far more racially diverse. So, those are the top trends that Brookings found in the latest 2020 U.S. Census report. And more, as the U.S. Census results release over the course of the year, of course, we're going to gain a more thorough understanding of national population trends with great detail for communities all across the country. But other available data already reveals the broader picture. We are becoming a country with historically low population growth, rapid aging, and greater racial and ethnic diversity, especially among the nation's youth. And that's something I wanted to point out because I recall attending a conference, I think it was called Aging in America conference back in San Francisco, and this was probably 6 to almost 10, maybe 7 years ago or so. And I recall that they were estimating some of these trends that we're now seeing today. So I think this is very interesting. Well, thank you for watching, and please subscribe to Solo and Smart, and I will see you soon.